Tell me if this sounds familiar. One day, you were scrolling through your social media feed and you saw some post that said, "You should watch this new cartoon. There are gay witches in it." So you said, "Heck yeah, I want to see some gay witches." And because you're a well-adjusted adult who isn't ashamed to admit you like kids' cartoons, you put on Disney Channel and you started watching. Pretty soon, you found that the world of this story is a lot more complex than you were expecting. There are details that go unexplained, and a decent helping of mysteries and intrigue. You watched the series finale not too long ago, and you thought to yourself, "Man, that was a cool show, but I'm a little confused about a few things. Is there anyone out there who can explain them to me?" Fortunately, that's why I'm here. The Owl House is what I like to call a mystery box story, definition on screen, and I've dedicated myself to explaining as many of them as possible. If you have unanswered questions about the convoluted lore of a story you've just finished, then I'm the guy who can give you those answers. Then afterwards, I give each mystery box story a rating out of 10, using my 10 criteria for what makes mysteries like these fun and engaging. So, let's open up some dusty old tomes from the distant year of 2020 and explain the Owl House. The Owl House is a Disney Channel cartoon created by Dana Terrace. It just finished up its third and final season. I should start off by saying that I know this show is nowhere near as complicated as the stories I usually talk about. But I'm making an exception because first, I really like this show, and this is an excuse to talk about it. But also, this show takes a lot of design cues from another show that I talk about a lot here, Gravity Falls. 10 years after it ended, Gravity Falls is still inspiring tons of children's media to try out serialized mystery. Let's see how much of it rubbed off on the Owl House. Let's go through a quick recap. Specifically, a recap of all the mysteries of the show. The story begins with a girl named Luce, who falls into another world called the Demon Realm. Wait, Demon Realm? They let that name fly on the Disney Channel? Huh. Specifically a place called the Boiling Isles. Luce forms a partnership with a criminal and con artist named Ida the Owl Lady. She moves into her house, the Owl House, with Ida and her roommate, the King of Demons. The reason Ida is called the Owl Lady is more literal than you might realize. She has a curse put on her that makes her transform into an owl monster. She has no idea who cursed her or why. Because Luz is a human, she doesn't have innate magical ability like everybody else, but she eventually discovers that she can use magic by drawing glyphs that cast spells. Luz meets some friends at wizard school, Willow, Gus, and Amity. With Amity, they start out as rivals, but they grow to become friends. Or maybe more? Towards the end of the first season, we finally meet the ruler of the Boiling Isles, Emperor Belos. Belos claims that he can speak to the spirit of the Titan. The Titan is the giant creature whose body the Boiling Isles is built on. The people of this world can do all kinds of magic, but Belos requires that everyone joins a coven, which restricts them to only one kind of magic. According to Belos, everyone has to do this because wild magic is too dangerous. Belos is very obviously evil though. He has to have another motive for creating those covens. All this is why Ida is an outlaw, by the way. She never joined a coven. One of Belos' top henchpeople is Lilith, Ida's sister. Lilith is always trying to capture Ida and force her to join a coven, because Belos says he'll cure Ida's curse if she does. In a flashback scene, it's revealed that it was Lilith who cursed Ida, back when they were kids. It was mostly an accident, and Lilith feels terrible about it. Thankfully, Lilith finds out that Belos lied about healing her, so she betrays him and takes on half of Ida's curse. The season 1 finale gives us a little glimpse of Belos' plan. He's trying to build a portal to the human realm. He's gearing up for something called the Day of Unity. And there's something wrong with him, like physically. On to season 2. Luz finds out that there was another human who came to this world before her, Phillip Whittebane. Luz starts digging into his life and research to find a way to get home. She learns that portals between worlds can be created with Titan's blood. She uses some to make a short trip home, and finds a shape-shifting creature posing as her. Luckily, she's not evil. She was just looking for a place to crash. Luz travels back in time to talk to Phillip Whittebane, who turns out to be a huge jerk. But he's not just a jerk. Big twist, Phillip is Belos. He's a witch hunter, like a Salem witch trials witch hunter, who's trying to wipe out everyone in the Boiling Isles. Let's check in on King. I haven't mentioned him in a while. Ever since Ida told him that she found him hatched from an egg on some island, King has been trying to find his family. He and Luz go and meet who they think are his family, the Titan Trappers. But another big twist, King is a baby Titan. the last living Titan, probably. And his dad is the dead Titan that the Boiling Isles was built on. Throughout Season 2, there's this new bad guy working for Belos called the Golden Guard. His real name is Hunter, though. He starts out fully loyal to Belos, but he slowly realizes that he's on the wrong side. The last straw that makes Hunter finally switch sides is when he finds out that, third big twist, he's a Grimwalker. Wait, what's a Grimwalker? Belos has been communicating with some super powerful being trapped in a plate called the Collector. The Collector taught Belos really powerful magic for the Day of Unity. What magic? It's called a draining spell, and on the Day of Unity, he's going to use it to suck the life out of everyone branded with a Coven sigil. All our main characters get together and join a resistance group to stop the Day of Unity. They try to stop Belos, and they fail. In an act of desperation, King frees the Collector. The Collector stops Belos, but this thing is basically a child with godlike powers who starts warping reality to their will. In the last few moments of the season, Luce, Amity, Willow, Gus, and Hunter escape to the human realm. The third season is only 3 episodes long, unfortunately. Despite the show being very popular, somebody at Disney decided that it, quote, didn't fit the Disney brand. I wonder why they would think something like that. In the first episode of Season 3, the gang finds their way back to the Demon Realm. In the second episode, they work to infiltrate the Boiling Isles and stop the Collector. Then in the finale, Luce finally succeeds in talking the Collector down, but Belos possesses the heart of the Boiling Isles Titan, which is still alive somehow, and makes one last-ditch effort to destroy everything. But Luce defeats him for good by merging her powers with the spirit of the Titan. Evil has been defeated, happily ever after. Having the plot of the show laid out like that already answers most of the show's big questions. Things like the origin of Ida's curse, King being a Titan, Belos' plan. So let's go through some of the finer points, the stuff that might not be super clear at first glance. First, let's go over the backstory of Belos/Phillip Whittebane. Hundreds of years ago, Phillip and his brother Caleb were raised as witch hunters. One day, Caleb was brought to the demon realm by a witch. Phillip followed them there, thinking Caleb was being kidnapped, but it's much more likely that Caleb and the witch were in love. Once he got there, he set out to find Caleb, but when he found out that Caleb went willingly, he murdered him. All of this made Phillip hate this entire world, and he swore to destroy it all. Phillip discovered that he could stay alive indefinitely by consuming the souls of palismen, but all of the souls in his body turned him into this unstable blobby thing. When Luz went back in time, she accidentally taught him glyph magic. Soon after this, he changed his name to Belos and went ahead with his whole Day of Unity plan, and we all know how that turned out. Hunter is a clone of Caleb made by Belos, aka a Grimwalker. This is one of those long-standing fan theories that turned out to be true. Early on, we get a glimpse of this book that Belos has that gives instructions on how to make Grimwalkers, which are basically magical clones. There have been tons and tons of Caleb clones over the years. They always end up betraying Belos, and when they do, Belos kills them and starts over. Next, who is the Collector, and where do they come from? Well, they're a member of a species that lives in the stars. They're way old. The goal of the species is to preserve and catalog everything in the universe, regardless of how that might hurt other lesser beings. In the finale, the Collector explains how their siblings, called the Archivists, sent them down to play with the Titans to get rid of them. Then later, the Archivists felt threatened by the Titans' power and wiped all but one of them out. The last Titan, King's father, wrongly assumed the Collector also wanted to kill him, and imprisoned them. Also, at some point in the past, the Collector fought a creature called the Owlbeast and imprisoned them in a scroll, which Lilith then used to curse Ida. More stuff about the Titan. Again, the Titan is King's father, and the Boiling Isles is built on top of his corpse. It's unclear if the act of imprisoning the Collector is what killed the Titan, or if he died later for unrelated reasons. But either way, the magic from the Titan's corpse caused the beings living on it to develop the ability to use magic. And I say died, but he wasn't really dead. His heart was still beating until Belos possessed him. His consciousness was still alive in the in-between worlds. The magic glyphs that Luce uses are the language of the Titans. Every time Luce uses one, she's calling on the magic of the Boiling Isles Titan. I guess I should mention Luce's dad. He was a constant topic of discussion in the fandom while the show was running. He was barely mentioned for most of the show, and there were all kinds of theories about him. But no, he was just a regular guy named Manny who died of an unspecified illness before the show started. Last thing, why didn't Ida ever get arrested? I mean, she's a wanted criminal and pretty much everybody knows where she lives, at the Owl House. Well, it's because of this guy. Hootie might be silly looking, but he's a powerful demon, and nothing gets into the house without his permission.
Just look.
That's why the Emperor was finally able to raid the house at the end of Season 2. Hootie wasn't there. As for why nobody ever tries to catch Ida when she's, like, openly wandering through the streets?
The answer is don't think about it.
Those are the mysteries of the Owl House explained. But these mysteries are really just a small part of the overall story. Little things here and there to build up some minor intrigue and give the plot points some forward momentum. So when it comes to judging it as a mystery box, it's going to score pretty low. Oh, and if this is your first time on my channel and you have no idea what a mystery box story is, check out my many other videos on the subject. Maybe watch my Gravity Falls video. First, there's no big mystery at the beginning of the show to hook people. For most of Season 1, the show is more concerned with developing its characters and showing us this world than any kind of plot intrigue. As the show goes on, a few mysteries start to pop up. There aren't a ton, in fact I could easily list all of them right here. Belos' plan, the origins of Ida's curse, King's dad, Phillip Whittebane's journals, the loose doppelganger, and the collector. And besides Phillip and Belos being the same person, most of these are really self-contained storylines that are raised and then resolved by themselves. All of these questions are presented to the audience. Each one of them does a good job of introducing a mystery, letting the viewer wonder about it for a little while, before finally explaining it in a satisfying way. With the exception of the Hunter Grimwalker thing. Unless you were an active member of the Owl House subreddit, you probably never heard of that term before it was revealed. The show is not especially long, although that's not the fault of the writers. The mysteries aren't really spread out in a way that I would have liked. Like I mentioned before, Season 1 doesn't do a lot in terms of the overarching plot. Then Season 2 crams in a ton of mysteries and plot progression because the writers knew the show was getting cancelled. It leaves the overall series feeling pretty lopsided in terms of story progression. All the mysteries are clearly part of the story world. No confusing or symbolic visuals here. By the end, everything is cleanly wrapped up. Maybe a little too cleanly. There's really nothing to wonder about once the finale is over. This is in contrast to Gravity Falls, which implies a deep and complicated world beyond what we saw in the show. But the Owl House, it's pretty easy to put away and forget about it once you're done. At least, all the mysteries were planned in advance. The answers it gave never felt out of place, it always felt fitting. Especially something like King being a Titan. That's something that never occurred to me while watching, but it feels like such a fitting twist, like it never could have been anything else. Finally, the mysteries are tied to the characters and connected to their emotional arcs. We see Luz and the others researching and uncovering secrets to these mysteries all throughout the story. And when Luz finds out that she helped Phillip learn magic before she knew he was Belos, that was great. The mysteries never overtake character development, but they still always feel relevant thanks to the way the characters react to them. So yeah, the show is not on the same level of complicated mystery that I usually like, but I still think it's worth including in this conversation about mystery box stories. Ever since Gravity Falls ended, we've been starting to see more and more children's cartoons dabble with this extended serialized mystery. You have shows like the DuckTales reboot, which builds intrigue around the mystery of Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother. You have Amphibia, which kicks off its story with a literal mysterious box. You have Steven Universe and the Rose Quartz Pink Diamond mystery. But so far, I think the Owl House has been the most successful in imitating that vibe of intrigue and creative world building. It's a good show that shouldn't have gotten cancelled. The Owl House gets a final mystery box rating of 5 out of 10.
Oh man, here we go. King Squeak of Rage.